Okay, folks, we will call to order, please. Mr. Clerk, do I have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor Patterson, we have quorum.
Thank you. First, we have Committee of the Whole closed meeting.
First, we need a motion to waive bylaw 2010-01 to add an item to closed session. So moved by Councillor Stroud, seconded by Councillor Schell. That bylaw 2010-1 be waived in order to add an item to closed session, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, 218 Green Bay Road.
Your Worship, is a comment permitted before we vote on this?
Yes.
Because I'm the mover. This is a heritage matter that was sent as a confidential communication at 5:10 tonight. For anyone that hasn't seen it, if you were eating supper, for example. So this closed the closed session edition that was sent at 5:10 p.m. So if you haven't read it yet, you might need to. Thank you.
Councillor Neal?
Just quickly, since it is a 60-page report that we've just found on our desks, how time sensitive is this? Is there any opportunity for us to have a good opportunity to read it and make a decision perhaps at our next meeting?
So can I suggest that we add the item now, and then when we get into closed session, we can ask staff the question whether it's time sensitive, and if council wants to move a motion to defer at that point, then that's certainly something we can do.
Thank you.
So we will call the vote. And that carries.
Moved by Councillor McLaren, seconded by Councillor George, that Council resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole closed meeting to consider the following items. A, legal advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, JK Tet Center. B, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, former First Avenue Public School, 85 First Avenue. C, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, Cataraqui West Open Space Lands. And D, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, 218 Green Bay Road.
Please vote. And that carries. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sego ani buju wacheya kwe kwe. As the mayor of the city of Kingston, I offer these words in the spirit of this gathering. Let us bring our good minds and hearts together as one to honor and celebrate these traditional lands as a gathering place of the original peoples and their ancestors who were entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. It is with deep humility that we acknowledge and offer our gratitude for their contributions to this community, having respect for all as we share this space now and walk side by side into the future. We were just meeting in Committee of the Whole closed meeting. We discussed a couple of different items including an added item for 218 Green Bay Road and Cataraqui West open space lands. So with that, I will ask for a motion to waive the rules and have the clerk report, please.
Moved by Councillor Bohm, seconded by Councillor Stroud, that council rise from the Committee of the Whole closed meeting and that the rules of bylaw number 2010-1 be waived, and the clerk report.
Please vote. And that carries by a vote of 10 to 2.
Moved by Councillor Bohm, seconded by Councillor Stroud, that the report of the Committee of the Whole closed meeting be received and adopted. That in full and final settlement of the legal action initiated by the Cataraqui West Landowners Group against the city has successfully negotiated an agreement of purchase and sale to finalize the acquisition of approximately 25.5 acres of open space land in the Cataraqui West neighborhood in the amount of $850,000 plus any applicable HST, and the mayor and city clerk have been authorized to execute the said agreement, and that the funds to complete this transaction be funded as previously approved from the cash in lieu of Parkland Reserve Fund.
We will call the vote. Deputy Mayor Neal?
I believe we can speak to this at this time?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to vote against this, and I want to explain why without wandering into the dark zone of in-camera information. There have been questions before about the idea of the amount of money we pay for what is virtually land that could not be developed. And there was a 2011, I believe, newspaper article that did a comparison between what other cities were paying for land that could not be developed and comparing it to recommendations that the city of Kingston was proposing to pay for land that could not be developed. And for that reason, I can't support this given the amount of money that's being recommended. Thank you.
Thank you. We will call the vote. And that loses on a tie. Okay, moving on to approval of the addeds. Do we have any addeds, Mr. Clerk? Can I have a copy of the addeds, please? Okay, thank you. So first of all, just a note that we had added a closed session item, item D. We have a motion of congratulations, an item of miscellaneous business, and some communications. Can I have a mover, please, for the addeds? Moved by Deputy Mayor Neal, seconded by Councillor Turner. Please vote. And that carries. Are there any disclosures of potential pecuniary interest? Councillor Camden.
Thank you, and through you. I, Adam Camden, of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Kingston, declare my pecuniary interest in the matter of report number 50, clause number 2, as my spouse works at home-based housing. Also, I, Adam Camden, of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Kingston, declare my pecuniary interest in the matter of report number 48, as I am a licensed realtor.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other declarations, we will move on. We have no presentations tonight. We have no delegations. We have no briefings. Are there any petitions to present? Okay, seeing none. First, motion of congratulations moved by Mayor Patterson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Neal, that the congratulations of Kingston City Council be extended to Doug Ritchie, Managing Director of Downtown Kingston BIA, on receiving the Alex Ling Lifetime Achievement Award from the Ontario Business Improvement Area Association. This award recognizes individuals who selflessly contribute to strengthening and promoting BIAs. Over the past 35 years, Doug has been instrumental in creating, leading, and putting into action various projects and initiatives that have made our downtown one of the most vibrant and celebrated in Canada. Congratulations on this prestigious honor, Doug. Moved by Councillor Schell, seconded by Councillor Turner, that Kingston City Council offers congratulations to LCVI students Annie, Ted, Max, Harper, Maggie, Reese, Hector, Emma, and Cole, who, with teacher and coach Aaron Kemp, won the Canadian Improv Games Kingston Regional Tournament on April 1st. 10 teams of high school students from Kingston, Belleville, Loyalist Township, Prince Edward County, Smiths Falls, and Frontenac County competed from Thursday, March 30th until the final 5 top teams met on April 1st. Congratulations to all the students, teachers, and volunteers who worked and played with such energy over the 4-day event. Next stop, the National Festival Tournament in Ottawa, April 19th to 22nd. Good luck. We will call the vote. And that carries. We have no deferred motions, so we will move on to reports. First, report number 47 from the CAO.
Moved by Councillor Boehm, seconded by Councillor Olsanic, that report number 47 from the Chief Administrative Officer consent be received and adopted.
So there are a number of items A through H. Any separations? Deputy Mayor Neal.
A, B, and H.
Any other separations? Seeing none, we will vote on the balance of the items first. Item C, award of contract, walk behind sidewalk sweeper. Item D, award of contract, waste diversion trailer. Item E, award of contract, fleet management software upgrade. Item F, various speed limit reductions. Item G, Kingstown Beer Company, Manufacturers Limited Liquor Sales License Application and staff request for delegated authority. We will call the vote. And that carries. Item A, amendment to contract professional consulting services for the construction phase of the Hanson Memorial Parking Garage rehabilitation. Deputy Mayor Neal.
Yes, very quickly. I'm just curious because I'm used to seeing some kind of upset limit number when a report comes before us. And I know there's mention. This is, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is a consulting company that we hired. They, for whatever necessity, have gone beyond their period that, so there's additional cost. And we're being asked to approve $3,300 per week plus applicable taxes. Is there an upset limit? Is it possible to put an upset limit on this? I'm just wondering. Usually we don't approve the idea of on a weekly basis without a kind of end date.
Commissioner Leger.
Through your worship, the previous report that was reported to council indicated what that upset limit might be. We presented when the consultant contract first came up that it could be upwards anywhere from $78,000 to $123,000. The reason that we're asking that the consultant be retained for an additional 10 weeks is that the construction has taken 10 weeks longer than anticipated in terms of mobilization, in terms of pouring concrete, shoring, and at this point in time, I think that it could be upwards of 10 weeks at $3,300. And we could put that in there, but it might be less than that as well. But we're anticipating that it would take all of that. There may be from time to time like the 10 weeks of 3,300 could be accommodated at 123. But if it takes 11 weeks, I don't want to come back to council because we do have the budget allowance to take us to 123,000. So we're taking that budget as the upset limit.
If we're approving this tonight on the assumption that it's $3,300 per week for 10 weeks, which is what the report says, if it goes to 11 or 12 or 13 weeks, I'm assuming you'll come back to council and report that.
Mr. Leger?
Through your worship, I'd rather not, and that's why I'd rather stay within the budget provisions, because in terms of the contract, the concrete pours get tested for strength. We're going to be working on the Hanson Garage from May 1st, 18th. It'll be closed to do some pavement repairs and to do some concrete work at the entrance. So in the event that that kind of intrusive work takes a little bit longer, I'd rather not come back to council. So we'll work within the budget that was previously approved by council.
I still have a concern about on a per week payment without an upset limit, which is what's being requested in front of us. So for that reason, I'll reluctantly vote against this.
Councillor Stroud.
Thanks, Your Worship. Well, there's an obvious, further to Councillor Neal's suggestion, there's an obvious way to have a kind of win-win, I guess, would be to just approve 33,000 as a total amount, and then you would come back to us if it went above that. The advantage to that, in my mind, we'll see what my colleagues think here. The advantage to that is that the consultant or the Golder is doing the people that are doing the work. They then know what their envelope is, and they may be motivated to finish the work in that time if possible. I know from my dealings with contractors over the years that sometimes it's preferable to have a total contract amount in mind, and so that might be the fiscally prudent thing to do. That would require an amendment, which I haven't written out yet, but I would suggest that maybe if someone else thought that was a good idea, seeing as it wouldn't pass without majority anyways, one of the other speakers here tonight could propose that amendment, and I would support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that wishes to speak? Seeing none, we will call the vote. We will call the vote. You've already spoken, Deputy Mayor Neal. Councillor Sanik?
Hi, Your Worship. So I will then propose an amendment that after the word applicable taxes, we do comma, not to exceed $33,000.
Can you just, so that's moved by Councillor Sanik, seconded by Deputy Mayor Neal. Can you just give that to the clerk so that we can get that on the screen, please? So just while we're getting that amendment up on the screen, Councillor Sanik, you have the floor. Do you wish to speak to the amendment?
No.
Okay, is there anybody that wishes to speak to the amendment? Councillor Hutchison?
Sorry, I'm a bit distracted by the numbers here. The way I read this was that we have budgeted 123,000, which the commissioner said, and we've got 85,290 going to the consultant, and we're looking for another 33,000. Is it legitimate to add those two together and get 118,290? That's my question.
Commissioner Leger?
Through your worship, yes.
Okay, so it's below the budgeted number. And so my other question is, have staff worded this motion so that they don't have to come back to council if they run like a week over, which would still be under budget, or 2 weeks, which would be like 123rd of the amount. Is that a legitimate way to think about it?
Commissioner Leger?
That's what I stated earlier, Your Worship, yes.
So I have to say, I don't see any reason for the amendment. And no offense to my colleagues, but I think they may be offended, but I would offend myself if I voted for the amendment. I think we just need to pass this. It sounds like the staff is pretty confident they can bring it in under budget, and if it isn't, it'll be a very small amount. Again, I'll ask, is that legitimate?
Commissioner Leger?
Through Your Worship, yes.
Then I'm okay with I won't vote for the amendment because I don't think it's necessary.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak to the amendment only? Councillor Stroud.
Seeing as I get another chance to explain the rationale, and I brought it up, the upside for the amendment is that the contractor is aware that they have $33,000 for 10 weeks, and if they don't finish in that 10 weeks, they risk council not approving any further money. The advantage to that is the same as it would be if you're hiring any contractor to do a job in a private sector. You have a total amount and you are agreed on it, and the contractor makes sure that they finish for that amount. That's how most contractors work. They do a total amount, not a per diem. So, like Councillor Neal, I'm not comfortable with the sort of approving a weekly amount that can then just go up every week and week after week after week on the very small chance that it does happen to drag on. It's possible that not everything was done to finish on time. So I think that this is keeping the taxpayer in mind and capping the amount at $33,000 reasonable. If circumstances change, the staff can come back to us after 10 weeks and tell us what's changed, and then we can discuss further monies. So I will be supporting an amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, will you take the chair?
I will, and I recognize you.
Thank you. I just have a question to staff. So we've heard there may be the potential that without this amendment, that the contractor will not be sufficiently motivated to get the work done on time. I'm just wondering if staff can comment on that. If we do not pass this amendment, are staff confident that we can still get that work done and under budget?
Through Your Worship, just for clarity's sake, this is a consulting engineer that is reviewing, overseeing the project. And in terms of making sure that the contractor is building to specification and design and concrete strength, this is not the contractor. So they don't have any control over the contract. The contractor has control over the contract. We oversee, make sure that they build the specs. We inspect the concrete pours for strength. We ensure that we make available the structure for them so they can mobilize shore, and we keep the structure operational, except for the May 1st to May 18th when we'll have to close the structure for the entrance work. They can only do a bit of work at a time. So we've set all that out in the RFP and the specifications in terms of how they approach work and what they do. And they had to, when they made their submission in the first place, the contract was not going to be as our consulting engineers thought. It was going to be 4 weeks longer. Then when they got into winter, fall and winter work, they had to split some of the work to the spring because of the concrete curing and the weather availability. So it's quite, this has happened before in the past. The thing is, with contract work, we have change order mechanisms to work within budget to allow for that work to be phased in. With this consultancy, we approved the consultancy contract before we went to construction tender, and it was for a specified price. That's why we're before council this evening. They have to be there for duration of contract.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I honestly agree with Councillor Hutchison. I don't see the value to this motion to amend given that answer. While I appreciate the rationale that Councillor Stroud has put forward, I don't believe that this motion would address that. So I'm afraid I can't support it either.
Great. And I return the chair.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak to the motion to amend? Seeing none, we will call the vote on the motion to amend only, please. And that loses by a vote of 4-8. On the main item as not amended, is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Seeing none, we will call the vote. And that carries by a vote of 10-2. Item B, award of contract Schooley Mitchell Consultants. Deputy Mayor Neal.
Just very quickly, when I read the report, I see that the consultant is agreeing to 35% of, and I'm assuming is it gross or net savings that the city may achieve? And do we have, I know that the scenario that was suggested was $100,000 would cost us $35,000. But my question is that a reasonable expectation for the amount that we might be able to achieve in savings?
Mr. Rice.
Through your worship. So historically speaking, Schooley Mitchell has shown that 20% savings for municipal governments is not an unreasonable thing to achieve. So yeah, we expect that we could be within that ballpark. The savings are on gross costs. Okay.
Thank you. I look forward to those savings. I will be supporting the motion.
Thank you. We will call the vote on item B, please. And that carries. Item H, statutory bylaws, use of optical scan vote tabulators and internet voting for the purpose of the 2018 municipal election. Deputy Mayor Neal.
Yes, I have a question regarding both of these, and they aren't ambush questions. I actually mentioned these to the clerk before our meeting tonight. Are these virtually the same technology, optical scan vote tabulators that we used in the 2014 election?
Through your worship, that is correct.
I guess my comment is many of us who didn't have inside scrutineers had no idea until, in some cases, 11 o'clock. And the result is we kept the media up well past their bedtimes on election night. And I'm just curious whether our use of the tabulators, have we learned a lesson? Are we able to kind of ensure that those results will be come in a more timely fashion than they did in 2014?
Through your worship, while we can't guarantee everything in life, what I can say is that we'll be using more of a remote upload, which means that rather than having the equipment delivered here so that we can then process the information, it'll be uploaded from site, so we don't anticipate having the 11 o'clock window at that point.
Thank you. My other question, because people have questioned me about online voting, and I know we've heard horror stories in other constituencies about voter fraud and the use of, and can you give us some assurance, because I definitely support the idea of internet voting. Can you give us some assurance that it's a secure system that we'll be using?
Through your worship, we can give you that assurance in the sense that we will be doing a lot of testing to make sure that we don't have any of the fraud. We use a two-part system where you have to register to be able to get a PIN number to be able to vote. So unlike other jurisdictions where they use a one-step approach, we use a two-step approach, and that reduces, or in my mind, eliminates that risk.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Your Worship. Excuse me, and through you, just a question regarding the voters who opted for the telephone voting in 2014. There weren't many of them, but I'm just wondering, what do we know about them and whether or not they would be accessing a different form of voting if, for example, they are not able to get out to the polls?
Mr. Clerk?
Your Worship, they will have to use a different form of voting. The reality is, even with the telephone voting, you had to be able to get on the internet to get a PIN. So that, in my mind, it didn't make it very feasible, very limited uptake as well. So in terms of cost effectiveness, we won't be pursuing that going forward.
Okay, we will call the vote on item H. And that carries. Report number 48 from Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. It's my pleasure to present report number 48 from the Planning Committee for Council's consideration. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Shell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Neal, that report number 48 from the Planning Committee be received and adopted.
So there are two items. Would anyone like them separated? Seeing none, we'll vote on them as a whole. Item 1 is approval of an application for zoning bylaw amendment 70 Montreal Street. Item number 2 is approval of an application for zoning bylaw amendment 271 273 Earl Street. We will call the vote. And that carries. Report number 49 from Heritage Kingston.
Thank you, Your Worship. I rise to present report number 49 from Heritage Kingston. Moved and seconded, and ask it that Council consider adopting it.
Moved by Councillor Stroud, seconded by Councillor Shell, that report number 49 from Heritage Kingston be received and adopted.
Okay, there are several items under both Category 1 and Category 2. Oh, actually, number 2 is a separate item on civic collection acquisitions. Would anyone like any separations? Seeing none, we'll vote on the entire report as a whole. Please vote. And that carries. Report number 50 from the Arts, Recreation, and Community Policies Committee.
I'm happy to submit report number 50 from Arts, Recreation, Community Policies Committee, duly moved and seconded.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Neal, seconded by Councillor Holland, that report number 50 from the Arts, Recreation, and Community Policies Committee be received and adopted. I would point out that we need to vote on item number 2 separately.
Okay, so we will separate item 2 momentarily. Would anyone like either 1 or 3 dealt with separately? Seeing none, we'll vote on item 1 and 3 first, and then we'll do a separate vote on number 2. So number 1 is the Rideau Trail and Side Trail Loop on the Urban KMP Trail. Item 3 is the Rideau Heights Regeneration Phase 2 Implementation Planning. Please vote. And that carries. Now on to item 2, Overflow Shelter Update. Deputy Mayor Neal.
Yes, thank you very much. I have just a couple of questions for the director, if I might. This was a very, very hard decision for me because Rhinedale has fulfilled a definite need in the community for some years. I know that there's been questions within the community about this decision, and I just wanted to kind of clarify some things publicly. the overflow, the costs for the overflow shelters, as I understand it, have been over $200 per placement in this past year, because we've reduced the number of overflow, but in fact, so the cost per overflow bed has actually increased. Is that accurate?
Mr. Laban?
Through you, Your Worship. I don't believe that is accurate. I think the relationship to the cost per shelter bed overflow is related to the fact that the usage has gone down. So the cost has remained the same, but since the usage has gone down, the cost per bed occupied has gone up tremendously.
Thank you very much. That was what I was trying to say, so I appreciate it. The other thing is, I know that, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2 or 3 years ago, we approved the idea of doing what some communities have done in those rare occasions when we have overflow, or a situation where when we have a single intake shelter, where somebody shouldn't be in the same space as somebody else, either through a court order or whatever might be the case. But I believe that we have agreed some time ago, although we haven't utilized them yet, the whole idea of a motel voucher on those rare occasions when when the overflow happens, or when somebody is unable, because of probation or parole or whatever, to be in the same space with somebody else. Is that accurate? And will those vouchers be more utilized in the coming year?
Mr. Laban?
Through your worship, that is correct. The 10-year housing and homelessness plan does reference the use of motel vouchers. At this time, the service manager, we have not put that into place, but we have committed to the Housing and Homelessness Committee that for their next meeting in June, we will have a policy brought forward to address not the entire overflow shelter program, and one of the options that certainly will be considered is greater usage of motel vouchers, but we are concerned that we don't want misuse of that, so it is a sensitive policy to come up with.
I appreciate that. I understand that, and I'll make a couple of comments about Rhinedale Shelter going forward, but my concern, I would like to vote for this recommendation. My concern, though, is that I don't want somebody showing up at the single intake, looking in and seeing somebody that by some court order they cannot associate with, and them having to make the choice of either going back out into the cold or to breach their probation or parole. And so I would really like some assurance that there will be an option for that person that isn't going to put them back on the street. And I understood when we approved the whole notion of vouchers that they would be used in a very limited, controlled way, but only out of those kinds of moments of necessity. Could you comment on that?
Mr. Laban?
Certainly, I don't believe under any scenario we would be able to come up with a policy that is able to address every circumstance that someone may present themselves at a shelter and not be able to get access to it. I think the best that we've been able to come up with is that we are committed to working with the remaining shelters to come up with a comprehensive policy so that they can address as many of those issues as possible. Certainly, the first opportunity we have is the next Housing and Homelessness Committee to have that policy brought in front of the committee for consideration. Prior to that, we certainly will be working with the existing shelters to provide as many options as they may have at their disposal, one of which is motel vouchers at the present, but we haven't had the need to use that because we've had the overflow shelter available to us. Now that we don't, we certainly will be empowering the shelters to be able to consider that as one option, but we would like to have the overall policy in place first so that so that it's not misused and that we can have a nice comprehensive policy to guide those shelters.
I guess, and you can comment on this as well, is this will be the first time with the closure of Rhinedale where we only have a single access point for a man who finds himself home in a homeless situation. Women have, thanks to some amendments that the city made, that council made, that women have another site that they can stay at. So they can go to the single intake or they can go to Elizabeth Fry. But currently, correct me if I'm wrong, there's only one shelter, and it's mixed, it's co-ed, but there's only one shelter for people to go to currently.
Mr. Laban?
Through your worship, that is correct. For adult males, there will only be one shelter alternative available. However, part of the benefit of having a shelter system in place now is that the shelters are working together to ensure that if, for instance, if there's females staying in from the cold, they're able to move those to the other shelters to make room for additional males. And they also have internal setup in place so that they are able to close off a portion of their facility to, if there's security concerns between residents, they have internal options available to them to address security issues between residents and clients.
I would be much more assured, and I really want to vote for this, but I'd be much more assured if we could hear a statement that the budgeted money and recognition for motel vouchers, however rarely used, will indeed address the problem of somebody who isn't able to legally
30
or
seconds.
shouldn't legally go in. Could you comment on that?
So I think staff have already addressed that question. Mr. Laban, is there anything additionally you wish to add?
Okay, I'll take 20 of my last.
You have 15 seconds on the clock.
Okay, very quickly. Rhinedale, as I understand it, quick question, has paid for both of their buildings, and they have a transition house in one, and they may indeed be able to reconfigure their other one possibly as another transitional housing unit so that they won't be lost. Is that correct?
Mr. Laban?
Through your worship, that is correct. They do have two properties, one of which is used as a transitional units. They have announced as part of their closure process that they intend to keep that transitional house operating in the meantime while they undergo a process by which they decide what the future use of their main facility on Elm Street is. I will point out that both are not owned outright. There are mortgages on both properties.
Okay, next on my list is Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. If I remember the report correctly, I just want to get an explanation about this. As Mr. Laban knows all too well, it's very difficult with the shelters to predict what their usage is going to be, especially over time. I can remember at one point a few years ago where In From the Cold was going to close, and then 2 months later, they had more people than they knew what to do with. They were turning them away. And this is well known, right, that this happens. So I believe that the work that staff, or the research that staff did to come up with this recommendation was based on 2 years of assessment. And so I guess my question is, my main concern is this. My question is that we must think that that's sufficient, and what I want to know is why. What about the system now? What about the research done makes us so confident that this will stick? Because my main concern is this. We closed Ryandale, which was a family shelter for the most part, and next thing we know, we have people on the street, because that has happened in the past. And I'm not saying we're not running it better now, I'm just saying it has happened. So I'm looking for you to bolster my confidence that closing this facility will not put us in that situation where we are kind of wishing we had a property to put people into. Could you respond, please?
Mr. Laidman?
Through you, Your Worship. Certainly, we have had 2 years worth of data now through this new homelessness service system. Particularly in the last 6 months, the trend has been significantly reduced for shelter usage. But as you correctly point out, shelter usage does go up and down significantly, and it's not always you're not always able to predict the trends, but the trend has been that there's been next to no usage over the last 6 months at Ryandale. And the shelter board themselves has indicated as much, and it's not as much as staff recommending their closure, but they have come to the conclusion as well that it's not a good use of their facility and the amount of money is not useful, that certainly that amount of money can be used for the shelter system in different ways, or the homeless system and housing system in different ways that can be better used. And they've come to that recognition themselves. There's no way to predict that this is for sure going to last, this trend, but over 200 households have been housed in the first 2 years from persons accessing the shelter system, which is significant. Shelter stays are down, the average stay is down, so all the indicators are positive, and that we firmly believe that there are other options available if persons present themselves that the shelter system can't handle, that there's cheaper options available for overflow that we'll be looking at and are looking at with the shelters.
Thank you very much. I did think that you would reference the Housing First program and that it was being effective and more effective than I realized at this point in time. I think for me, the final aspect of this that makes me think, brings me to voting for this is that Ryandale themselves have recognized they might be doing a better public good by closing their doors at this point in time. And since they're on the inside and staff seem to, Mr. Laidman is completely right, they did not recommend that. That's just what it's come to. And although they're always looking for efficiencies. So I don't see any reason to vote against this, so I'm going to vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you. We will call the vote on item 2. And that carries. We have nothing from Committee of the Whole. Information reports, if you have a question, just raise your hand. Number 1, tender and contract awards subject to the established criteria for delegation of authority for the month of February 2017. Number 2, report on agreements executed under delegated authority and signing authority January 1st, 2017 to March 31st, 2017. We have no information reports from members of council. Miscellaneous business. We do have several motions. Number 1, that the following members of council be appointed to serve as deputy mayor in 2-month increments as follows. May, June 2017, Councillor Stroud. July and August 2017, Councillor Holland. September and October 2017, Councillor Turner. November and December 2017, Councillor Neal. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Councillor George, seconded by Councillor Hutchison. Please vote. And that carries. Number 2, that is requested by Feng Loi Kok Tao's Tai Chi. Council proclaimed June 27th, 2017 as Feng Loi Kok Tao's Tai Chi Month in the city of Kingston. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Neal, seconded by Councillor Bohm. Please vote. And that carries. Number 3, that is requested by Supporting Families of Workplace Tragedy. Council proclaim April 29th, 2017 as Supporting Families of Workplace Tragedy Day in the city of Kingston. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Sanik, seconded by Councillor Turner. Please vote. And that carries. Okay, on to new motions. We have one new motion moved by Deputy Mayor Neal, seconded by Councillor Holland. Whereas Kingston and Canada just celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Vimy Ridge in this our sesquicentennial year, and whereas Leslie Miller, a Canadian soldier at Vimy, mailed back acorns from a shattered oak on the battlefield and planted them on his family's Scarborough farm where they flourished, and whereas trees descendant from these were nurtured in a Hamilton nursery and are now being replanted at the Vimy battle site as part of Canada's celebration of the Vimy Centennial, and whereas RMC, Queen's, Princess of Wales Own Regiment, Canadian Signal Corps, and Canadian Army Engineers, as well as many Kingston area soldiers fought in that battle and deserve a permanent recognition by the City of Kingston, therefore be it resolved that City staff be requested to explore the feasibility of purchasing at least 100 Vimy oaks to be planted at suitable sites in the city, with some being donated to RMC, Queens, CFB Kingston, Kingston Legion Halls, City Park, Victoria Park, and other suitable municipal sites, and that staff bring a report back to council with total costs and plan in time for a fall 2017 planting. Deputy Mayor Neal.
Thank you very much. I came up with the idea of this motion having read a really powerful story in the Toronto Star that gave the background to this information. And I learned a lot. Along with the mayor, I went to the centennial celebration at City Park and learned a lot more about the history and the connections between the city and the Battle of Vimy Ridge. And I have to say, since this was reported, I've received several phone calls, several people being very supportive of this initiative. There are questions, legitimate questions about cost. And that's why the primary direction to staff is that they're requested to explore the feasibility of this. They may come back with, given the cost, this 100 may be overly ambitious, maybe 40, maybe 50, whatever. But this asks staff to seek that. Now, I spent 3 or 4 days trying to locate the actual nursery, and there was an intrepid Whig reporter that tracked them down. So we can get that information fairly readily. I've also had a lot of people that have said, I'd be happy to donate to this cause. And indeed, and our colleague Councillor Stroud may want to speak to this because he's the former chair of the SDA Tree Committee, I believe it's called. They contacted me today to say, we would like to help with the costs of this. And I will say, as I said to them, to individuals that have said, we'd like to help out, you can write a check for the city and get a tax receipt. And you can earmark for a particular project once it's approved by the city. and by council. And I indeed will be making a donation for this cause if we can go forward, once the report comes back. The only reason I made some kind of time recommendation in this is I understand, but our arborists know better than me, but often it's good to plant deciduous trees in the fall for them to properly take root. So I hope and I trust that this can pass, and hopefully unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. We will, Councillor Strutt.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, Vimy Oaks. I think it's a great idea. Thank you, Councillor Neal. I really like this one. I'm going to support it. I have a couple things to say about the Vimy Oaks. The first part is about the oaks. So this species of oak, the English oak, it's actually the species they used to make masts for their wooden warships when they were the rulers of the seas. That's the English I'm talking about. And they actually pretty much deforested the island of where they live because of the use of those oaks. And the shame about that is it's one of the slowest growing trees in the world. They can live very long, but they grow very slowly. But if properly maintained, believe it or not, English oaks can live to be more than 1,000 years old. And it's actually the longest lived of all the oaks, I believe. So, and I know this because I researched the different types of oaks when I was SDA Tree Committee Chair, because there is one growing in downtown Kingston right now in a house on Johnson Street, of all places. There's an English oak growing there. And I'm wondering whether the people that own the house realize how big that tree could actually get. They get very, very big eventually, but slowly. So, the species happens to be very fitting, and the symbolism of having a very traditional and well-loved tree that ties the connection, the synergy, the connection between Canada and Vimy, and then the physical connection of having the actual trees growing in our city. I think it's such a great opportunity. The Vimy part I can speak to because I visited Vimy Ridge as a student about 29 years ago, I think. And I was visiting a friend that I'd met at university, and he was French, and I visited him over in France. He happened to be from northern France. And if you haven't been to northern France as a Canadian, you ought to do that. They love us over there. The French and the Dutch and the Belgians, they just love us because of what we did in the First World War, and it's 100 years later. They couldn't give me enough hospitality, and they absolutely insisted that I visit Vimy. I'd heard of Vimy, but I was 19 years old. What did I know about it? So they took me there, and I found one of my relatives on the wall, and they showed me the scars in the land and where all the trenches were. They're still there 100 years later. And just standing on top of the ridge and looking around, it honestly was the most moving place that I'd ever visited, because I felt something there from the Canadians that had died there. It was really hard to explain. Again, we just had the 100th anniversary. I was thinking back of those times, and here Councillor Neal's come up with a great way of us having a permanent memorial to that through these oaks. So I hope Council can support this. Thank you.
Thank you. We will call the vote on new motion number 1. And that carries. Are there any notices of motion? Mr. Clerk, I'll ask for minutes, please.
Moved by Councillor Candon, seconded by Councillor Holland, that the minutes of City Council meeting number 2017-10, held Tuesday, April 4th, 2017, be confirmed.
Please vote. And that carries. We have some no tabling of documents. We have a number of communications. Is there any other business? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to move into Committee of the Whole closed meeting.
Moved by Councillor Bohm, seconded by Councillor Camden, that council resolve itself into Committee of the Whole closed meeting in order to complete the agenda.
Please vote. And that carries. Okay, folks, so first I will ask for a motion to rise from Committee of the Whole closed meeting without reporting.
Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor Stroud, that council rise from the Committee of the Whole closed meeting without reporting.
Great, good to use it. Hold on. See who signed it. Okay.
Please vote. And that carries. With that, I will ask for bylaws, please.
Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor McLaren, that bylaws 10 and 11 be given their first and second reading.
Please vote. And that carries.
Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by, one more. Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor McLaren, that bylaws 10 and 11 be given their third reading.
Please vote.
One more, please.
That carries.
Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor McLaren, that bylaws 1 through 9, 12, and 13 be given their first and second reading.
Please vote. And that carries.
Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor McLaren, that Clause 11.34 of Bylaw 2010-1 be suspended for the purpose of giving Bylaws 9 and 12 three readings.
Please vote. And that carries.
Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor McLaren, that Bylaws 9, 12, and 13 be given their third reading.
Please vote. It carries. Motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor George, seconded by Councillor Camden. Please vote. And we are adjourned. Thank you very much.